says, I'm going to destroy what you have most pride in. The altar. This is what has defined you, making you look like you are more pious among the people than you really are. It's as if God would come in and wipe us out because we've used the sanctuary as a place to make us look sophisticated and important and better than anybody else. I know that doesn't happen here, but just in case we do find somebody that they act like that, he says, I am the kind of God that I am going to tear this apart, because instead of you using it for devotion, it has become something to your detriment. Beloved, we should never be guilty of using the church as a place to catapult our careers. You know how we like to talk about what church we attend and how often we attend and how we're connected to the church. But in reality, we are really not. We just show up from time to time so that our faces might be seen, so that we can look as if we are really connected. Well, God looks at the heart. So what God says, he says, then I will slay the rest of them with the sword. He says, then they will not have a fugitive who will flee or a refugee who will escape. He says, though they might try and hide from me, it's as if they're playing peekaboo. Playing peekaboo, you're sitting there with a child, you're moving your hands, but you really see everything that's going on. But a baby is so intrigued when you cover your eyes and then you move your hand away and you slightly show them a peek. They get so intrigued, and that's what Israel thought. They thought that they could get away from God. So this is what they planned. He says, though they dig into Sheol, from there will my hand take them. Though they ascend to heaven, from there will I bring them down. Though they hide on the summit of Carmel, I will search them out and take them from there. Though they conceal themselves from my sight on the floor of the sea, from there I will command the serpent and will bite them. And though they go into captivity before their enemies, from there I will command the sword that it slay them. And I will set my eyes against them for evil and not for good. God, in essence, says this: I don't care where you try and go, you can't get away from me. Because you've been so wicked. I don't care if you try to hide in Sheol. He says, I'll get you from there. I don't care if you try and ascend into heaven. I'll get you there. I don't care if you try to go to the bottom of the sea. In fact, I will employ a serpent to bite you there. Now, if they had any sense, they would have known that you can't get away from the inescapable presence of an omnipresent God. He's everywhere. And some of us try the same thing. We think that we can go from one city to the next and do our thing and nobody's watching. Well, maybe nobody that you know sees you, but God's eyes are in every place, beholding both the good and the bad. They thought that they could be wicked and wretched and then get away, much like Jonah thought, I can just set my own itinerary. God wants me to go to Nineveh. I'm not going to Nineveh. I am going to go where I want to go. He gets on the boat, going in a different direction, suggesting by his actions he could run from God. How can you run from a God who's faster than you? How can you run from a God that's already at your destination? How can you run from a God that boards the ship with you? He lets Jonah get on the ship. He lets the ship get in the water, and then he designs a storm to set Jonah up to be thrown overboard. Then he orchestrates for a fish to come and swallow Jonah. Then he will not allow the fish to swallow Jonah and digest him, but hold him in this chamber and then throw him up on the land. Now, this is not the cupcake moon pie God we like to talk about, to tell our children about, because we want to talk about a God that opens doors, a God that gives you food when you're hungry, and he does all of that, but he's also a God that will spank that behind when you get out of line.